1. I am now streaming. Hello, everybody. My name is Thomas J. Baker, and we have Tim over there.
Hello.
Say hi again, guys. Say hi.
Hey. Howdy.
Oh, shoot. There I am. Hello.
There she is.
So we are back with episode 3 of SCP Acquisition. And today we have, well, as you heard, we have Tim again. Yay! Tim has come over.
Can get back together again.
Because Maryland is opening, and don't worry about me and Tim. We're across the table, 6 feet apart, wearing masks. So don't worry. We're completely fine. We're taking every precaution, but and we will be restarting the Fifth Realm someday soon. When we're willing to have more people in the same room. So anyway, but we're here. Yeah, there's a little plague going on right now. So just a tiny little plague. And lots of other stuff going on, which we're not going to go into, because we are here to play SCP Acquisition.
We're here to escape all of that stuff. Yeah,
we're here to do a little bit of escapism. Take a break, step back.
I'm sure there's going to be plenty of things we need to escape from.
Yes.
Back. Need this.
Very hard escape. So, let us begin with Tim. Describe the briefing room. Now, we are going to go to the main map, but he didn't give me a map for the briefing room with Mr. White, who I've mentioned a few times, and I remember the white glove, but I didn't remember much else.
He's our district head, correct? He's the mysterious man in the chair that we all report to.
Yeah, he's your guys' boss, and they are called the Black Cats.
Okay.
Black Cats team to go take a look at things.
Everything
is the Black Cats.
Cat reference to everything.
There's a cat reference in everything we do, Tim.
There must be a bunch of cat lovers.
Also, I absolutely was on board for being part of.
The Nyan Nyan. Our gang sign is the Nyan Nyan. That's from Betty.
I'm gonna get me a hat with cat ears on it. Let's go.
All right, the briefing room.
And lots of other stuff going on, which we're not. Okay, just checking.
Everything good?
Yeah, everything seems to be good.
The briefing room. Did we lose them?
Are you guys still there?
No,
Okay.
we're still here.
All right.
Okay.
The briefing room is a very plain, almost
Sterile.
bare and sterile room. There are chairs for you, and that's it. There's a simple table with nothing on it. Mr. White enters through. You enter through one. There are two doors in the.
Your guys' office is actually. I did do a little thing. Mm-hmm. Your guys' office is actually the offices that are in front of this room, and this is like the briefing room, and then past that is his main office.
And the
Yeah, I forgot about that.
You walk from your offices into the briefing room. There's a door on the other side of the briefing room where Mr. White enters. Now, Mr. White is somewhat of an SCP himself. He is very tall, roughly 6'4", and very thin. He's a black gentleman who appears to be in his early to mid-60s. Completely bald-headed. He speaks with a crisp English, British accent. He always wears a tailored black suit with a white shirt and a black tie. And on his left hand at all times, he wears a white glove. Now, Mr. White, if he has an office what's it called?
The Foundation.
So we actually do call it the Foundation?
Yeah, the Foundation. Okay. It's one of the many sites they have to
I didn't know if we made up our own
We just refer to it as the office.
Okay. If he has an office in the Foundation, no one knows where it is. No one has ever seen him wandering the halls. No one has ever seen him anywhere but the briefing room. And no one knows anything about him beyond the fact that his name is Mr. White. And he is essentially your boss. He's the one that tells you about your assignment.
He's the one that gave your guys this assignment the first time that I was kind of vague about because I couldn't remember all the details.
Well, also, he's not a very memorable kind of guy, right? Like, we're left with a vague impression of a person.
Very much so. Very much so.
His words ring true in our ear, but, like, remembering specific details of him after we left is kind of like... it just kind of fades into obscurity.
The white glove stands out, which is why everyone calls him Mr. White, because it's a white glove, and that seems to be the most.
He's just like, here's a nondescript human with a white glove.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Is he an SCP? You haven't seen the file yet, so...
Max is because of the paranoia, he's privately convinced that every single person in the Foundation is also an SCP that someone else is researching.
And when you speak to him, he seems to have no personality or sense of humor. He never smiles, he never laughs, he never chuckles. If someone makes a joke, he doesn't respond to you. He simply looks at you until anyone's humor is gone.
I definitely got the characterization wrong, because he was chuckling at Sarah last week because of her predicament. Although I think that would be comical in any sense. I think he would find that comical, like, oh no, you're about to die. That's pretty funny.
It was a very subdued, like...
Maybe he was malfunctioning that day. Who knows?
Hey, we all have our off days.
Maybe he's a hologram of a person.
Maybe this is a completely different reality, and in reality, every single time we jump to a new episode, this is actually a different reality that's down that hallway in one SCP. There's an actual SCP where you can actually go down.
Office. I look over at Miss Burns, and I'm just like, you know, these meetings get stranger every single time.
For the soda.
You ain't kidding.
I have to get up and go get it. No ice in here.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's just cans. We don't have Kevin or Jane to send.
Eat a goblin who's getting into my garbage.
So, wait. Did you go? Did he go?
He's grabbing a cat. Hang on, the cat's getting in the garbage.
Yeah, they're both cat owners.
Oh, well, hey, they fit right in.
Yeah.
Like cat, dogs, fish, bird, turtle.
Everything we do always has some kind of cat reference to it.
Sorry about that. I have raised a tiny white fluffy goblin.
They're the best kind of goblins.
Yep.
We looked over. Cat pointed out, "Is she in the trash?" I look back and I see just a Mowbot on a basket, and the whole front half in the garbage can.
I have 3 little such goblins at home.
Oh god, she's 3 inches around, but like 2 feet long. She's like a ferret.
Oh, that's fun. Okay. So, continuing on, we're all sitting there, and
Mr. White enters through the door that he always enters through.
All right.
In the same way that you believe this must be the same way he always comes, although you can't quite remember anything about this person. It's almost like you see him for the first time. But you're like, oh, the white glove. That's Mr. White.
Yeah.
And he looks at you and says, are you prepared to travel to Romania?
My bags are always packed, sir.
Very simple question. He says,
His eyes light up.
He says, you're going to be going to a small town called Staresborn in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania.
Alright, give me a second. I don't know where my phone went. There it is. I'm gonna take notes so I can remember this, just because I worked all day.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's been a long week, and everybody understands.
I spent a lot of time during this week researching Romanian names of both people and places so that I could come up with names that sounded authentically Romanian.
Hey, alright, so what was the name? Where are we going in Romania?
Staresborn.
Can you spell that, please? STAIRZBO with the little funny 2 dots over top of it. RN. Did you say the 2 dots on top?
Yeah.
That's an Erdnot.
Yep. Didn't know what it was called, but
Yep.
Are you prepared to travel to Romania?
It means it's a long vowel. Staresborg.
Everybody hang on for 1 second. I'm just checking the audio.
Okay.
He says...
And you said we were up in a mountain range?
The Carpathian Mountains.
Carpathian Mountains, okay.
Romania is just one of the countries that's in the Carpathian Mountains.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been basically tracing modern nations in Europe back to the year 1220 to figure out the lay of the land for another game I'm prepping for, so I got you, fam.
All right. So, of course, you also... Should I introduce my character?
Yeah.
You see what appears to be a very large man come in. He has to stoop in order to get through the door. He comes in and he's saying, I'm very sorry, sir. I took a wrong turn. This place is just a maze." And he comes into view. You guys turn around and you see him. And like I said, he's a big hunk of a man. Just pure...
How tall is he?
I would say like 7, 8 foot.
Oh, jeez.
He looks massive. And you see him, but the entire time he's kind of like stooping a little. Even though he doesn't have to now that he's in the room. But he's kind of stooping, trying to make himself small.
I mean, yeah, it could be psychological. It could be, it's hard holding up 40mm cannons all the time. He'll tire you out, man.
He chuckles. He's wearing a nice, crisp business suit that seems to just be barely containing who he is. He also...
Max doesn't say that out loud. I'll specifically let you know if I'm saying some shit.
Okay. But he's wearing a very crisp suit. His head is bald. He has a very thick black beard. African American in looks. And you see him just kind of like he's going, "I'm sorry I'm late, sir. Sorry I'm late." And he's just kind of smiling, and you get the sense that he's not he's not like he could be a whole lot more threatening if he wasn't like stooping and kind of like apologizing a lot. Like, "I'm sorry." Like, this is somebody who's gone through life trying not to hurt people because he realizes he might be he's strong.
So wait, he's 7 foot stooped over?
Yeah.
He's 7
So
foot.
like he's taller than 7 foot.
Right.
Yeah,
he's 8
like
foot.
Probably 9 if he stands up straight. I'm guessing like General Grievous. General Grievous hides his stature a lot of the time by stooping.
This guy is freaking tall. He is just a wall of pure muscle, and it doesn't even look like he really works out. It looks like a kind of like
big raw boned look.
Big raw bone look. Like if he were to like take the time and work out, he could become truly muscle bound, hulkish.
Quick question.
Yep.
Bird, how tall is Maxwell?
6'4", same as me. And
Okay.
6'6", just like me, 170 pounds soaking wet.
So tiny little Brenna, with her 5'8" in heeled self, is looking from Mr. White to Maxwell to the new guy. She feels really
She's feeling very
claustrophobic.
diminutive. She's feeling very diminutive right at the moment.
New gentleman's gaze. He's like lifting his head so he can meet his gaze, straight on, and holds out a hand for a shake.
A very big, meaty paw reaches out and goes, "Mr. Gabriel, sorry I'm late." And he looks at Mr. White and he goes, I'm sorry I'm late, sir."
And Mr. White says, "Are the pleasantries aside?"
He goes, "Of course, sir. My rifle's packed and everything for Romania."
And he simply does a curt nod and says, "The town in Romania is in the Carpathian Mountains. It is a very old village."
You see Mr. Gabriel just kind of wave at what's the character's name again?
Brianna Burns.
Brenna. You see him kind of wave pleasantly at Brenna. It comes off as like, "I'm going to break your neck" kind of smile, but he's trying not to have that look. His charisma's 5. He's not very good at...
He's a gentle giant that's used to people jumping to conclusions.
Yep.
Brenna kind of like cocks her head to the side and kind of like smiles back, but like in the back of her head she's making a mental note of "I'm not turning my back."
Mr. White makes a small throat clearing sound and then says, "In Stersborg, you're going to be going to the Stersborg Inn. It is a very old hotel. And the proprietor of this hotel is one Professor Maximilian Lenz. He is originally from Germany. He is somewhat of an SCP enthusiast. He has PhDs in in cultural anthropology and folklore. It seems that there is a certain box, trunk to be more specific, that is located within this inn. This trunk, it is said that shortly after World War II, a traveling street magician who called himself the Great McDuck stayed for some time in this inn. He brought this trunk with him as part of his act and left it at the inn when he mysteriously disappeared. It is said by the townspeople that the trunk contains a demon, and that if the trunk is opened, this demon shall escape, and when it escapes, it brings catastrophe with it. According to the lore of the town, the trunk has been opened 3 times since it has been in Stairs board. The first time the trunk was opened was sometime in the 50s. In all 3 cases, the person who opened the trunk disappeared without a trace. In the first instance of the trunk opening, there was a mudslide in the hills just outside of Stairs board in which 12 people perished. There were also a number of random disappearances and murders and accidents. The second time was in the 60s that the trunk was opened, and on this occasion there was a large fire which consumed several homes and cost the lives of 7 people. Again, there were disappearances and murders. And the third time was in the 80s. 1985, the trunk was said to be opened, and at this point in time, there was a terrible riot when the trunk was opened. 9 people lost their lives in the rioting and looting that followed, and again, there were murders and disappearances. Now,
quick question before you continue. What was the last name of Dr. Maximilian?
Lenz. Lenz.
Okay. So that's Professor, which really should be Dr. Maximilian Lenz, since he got the PhDs.
But he likes to go by Professor rather than, because he was a professor at college in Leningrad, as well as at the University of. Plus, I wish I'd have remembered my notes.
He probably also calls himself professor because he sees people who call themselves doctor as like, okay, you're being kind of stuck up.
He literally was a professor at 2 different universities. I had all this in my notes, and I'm trying to take it all from straight memory because I forgot my notes.
So, the trunk belonged to a magician. What was his name?
He called himself the Great McDuck.
Feels like a hurricane.
Like D-U-C-K?
Yes. MC Mick and then D-U-C-K. That was obviously his professional name.
Yeah.
I know under her breath, the DuckTales.
Says Mr. Lenz Professor Lenz has been attempting to contain this trunk and the demon which is said to be within it. But he has contacted
the Foundation.
He has contacted the Foundation because he does not believe it is any longer within his resources to keep this trunk properly contained. And if the trunk is opened again, then once again calamity will fall upon the town.
And of course, you hear Mr. Gabriel sigh. He goes, and of course all the other teams that could go and collect this thing are out of commission because of a kind of size. He goes, the one containment breach in the facility, and let's just, for the sake of like me being slightly tired because I was sanding a floor all day, he says a place, but essentially all the other teams are occupied, so we're the ones that have to go collect this trunk.
The fetch quest.
Fetch quest.
Essentially, yes.
It ain't gonna be that easy.
And of course, you must investigate and make sure that the stories that we are hearing are true, and that this is not a wild goose chase or a hoax of some sort.
And of course, you hear Mr. Gabriel say, he goes, and of course, make sure that we can actually contain this thing. If it is.
Yeah. If not, we destroy it. Standard operating procedure.
He looks at he goes, that's not the Foundation's motto. Even if we can't figure out how to contain it, we are to get backup and more brains on it so we can contain it.
And so Mr. White, with that, gives a curt nod, turns, and exits the
briefing room.
Leaving you alone by yourselves.
I lean over very, very, like, subtly before he's leaving, like, as he's, like, making the noise and stuff. And I lean over to Maxwell, and I was like, do you get the feeling we're being babysat?
He doesn't respond. However, once Mr. White leaves the room, he casts a glance at both of you and then, like, tilts his head towards the exit and heads out. And leaving the building before he's going to discuss anything, because he knows they listen to everything in this building.
It's true.
Nobody follows Mr. White, or no curiosity of any sort?
No.
That sounds like a really bad idea. Also,
I literally just had a flash of wanting...
You would see Brenna kind of, like, lean so she can try and see out the door, but she doesn't, like, follow through with it. She's curious, but not... Yeah.
All of our eyes are on what's on the other side of that doorway, but of course, you know, past it, we can't really make out what it is, right? It's probably white light or like just.
When he opens the door and walks through, you get the glimpse of what looks like a hallway on the other side, but that's all you can see.
Yeah, see, nothing special, but it's also probably at least a class 4 cognito hazard, so, like, who knows?
We aren't... This is the Foundation. There's horrible things around every corner. Let's just go to Romania and bring another one.
Find another horrible thing to bring here.
Brenna learned nothing from her last encounter.
So, let's go to Romania. Follow me. We're going to go to the set. So we're going to the Skelly Dens. Wait, are you guys following?
Yeah.
There we go.
So we're not going to the game room. We're going to the set of the box, and we're going.
Where did he go?
I think he went into this one. Is it the last one on the left?
Hang on.
Did they get lost?
They got lost. I'm coming back.
Yeah, because you ran ahead and just vanished before. I told you I'm touchpad gaming. It's really hard for me to turn my camera.
Why are you touchpad gaming, man?
Reason, shut up.
Okay, I can respect that. No, it's this one. The one that's labeled the box. This one. This one.
The name of our episode.
Name of the episode. And go and wait for it.
You're flying, Sarah. You're flying.
No, I'm not.
There we go. So, this is the hotel. And describe the town. We didn't build the town because we didn't have time to build the town.
The town is kind of what you would expect of an old European town. It looks like, for the most part, it hasn't been touched in decades. There are no new-looking buildings.
Sir, there you are, sir.
Everything looks old. Of course, it's cold. There is snow on the ground. And there are forests all around. There's one single road that seems to go into the town, then branches off into smaller ones. And that road is the most modern looking thing in the town. The two most noticeable buildings are, of course, the inn, which is enormous. And then not far from the inn, down the road, there is what looks to be a 1,000-year-old church. Very, very ancient cathedral of a church. Looks like it stood here for 1,000 years, literally.
So
then there are a lot of small...
Jane did not get the fact that it was a cathedral, so...
No, I didn't really describe it to you. Some of this I've come up with over the course of this week, so...
Okay.
I knew it was a big church.
You said church.
Yeah, I knew it was a big church, but some of the details... I come up with a lot of the stuff while I'm on the road, so...
if we don't finish the mission this session, I mean, it gives you guys a chance to go through and actually, like, flesh everything out, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah,
that's chill.
Which, don't worry, we try our best to make sure the missions are... Every episode is a mission.
And,
I have a question, though. How were we inserted into the operating area? Like, did we show up in a Jeep or something? Because there's no way my character brought his Ford Galaxy here. Also, I don't think... big stuff will fit in the back seat.
Now you were flown here by one of the Foundation's jets, and then you were met on site by a young Romanian man who simply goes by the name of Marco, and he drove you up here in a Jeep and brought you to the inn, and apparently Marco works at the hotel for Professor Lenz.
Okay, so Marco's our contact point within the hotel.
Actually, can I declare a role?
Okay.
Can Mr. Gabriel, hearing the fact that I will remember these characters' names. Hang on, I have it in my chest. Maxwell.
Max. No one calls him Maxwell. Everyone calls him Max.
He, upon hearing that Max was disappointed that he would not be able to bring his car, can I fill paperwork to have him have his car brought?
I was asking because we're going to the Ukraine, so he definitely would not bring his car to the Ukraine. That seems like a whole lot of operating costs for no reason. That's why I was asking if we had a vehicle they gave us or what was.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because Mr. Gabriel, the idea of him is he's a gentle giant, but he probably heard that you have your car, you like using your car a lot, and considering he wants to impress you and be like, hey, he wants to be friends with you, he probably is going to go. He knows bureaucracy very well, so I wanted to make a roll to basically have the paperwork filled out to have your car shipped there without you knowing, and then when you arrive, you go, why is my fucking car here?
Alright, so first issue with that is Max, if you noticed, he's pretty much working in a professional capacity. He doesn't know this guy, and because he's paranoid, he's assuming he's like an SCP plant or something. Because he works for the Foundation, but also is 100% convinced they have it out for them and everyone else. They've got an agenda, always.
So is an agenda.
Which is actually, I think, objectively true.
Now, would he have done this behind Max's back?
Miss Burns may mention his car, in which case he will definitely talk about how the Ford Galaxy is a pretty cool whip.
Yeah, he would definitely have done this behind your back to basically try to impress you and be friends with you.
That sounds like a great way to get himself killed. I'm just saying.
He's
accessing his car
since we're on this subject, Max, on the way up to Stairsborg, through the Carpathian Mountains, along these mountain trails, every ferocious bump, every splash of mud and snow, every hairpin turn each one makes you much more happy that you don't have your car here. Because
this is like axle damage.
Oh yes, axle damage. There are potholes large enough to swallow small cars, and with the exception of the main road through Stairsborg, most of the roads are mud.
You won't even drive this through Louisiana these days. No thanks.
All right, so I will.
So if the car shows up here, he won't be happy at all.
That's part of the reason. That's part of the reason why it'd be hilarious. Because he's trying to be friends. But this is a great way not to be friends. And it's not that he doesn't think about it. He's honestly think he's doing a good thing. He's
violating property rights and personal privacy.
We work for the Foundation. What are property rights?
You know what? It could be in like a shipping container, like it had been like choppered in or something. In the
Oh, he'll be big mad. He's gonna be so mad.
Well, that's why I said, can I make a roll to see if the paperwork is actually filled?
Sure, you can make a roll.
All right, I'll make a D20 roll, and we will see. And I'm rolling it now.
Who broke into my lockup?
Okay, I rolled a 2. It was denied.
Mm.
I rolled a natural 2. That it was denied. It was basically like, why are we going? Why do you want us to send this thing? Denied.
Mm.
It would have been funny if I got.
Really needlessly complex for like a vintage automobile. That's his personal car.
So we arrive, we get in a Jeep, and we come to the town. We see the church, we see the hotel.
And Marco looks at you, and he says in a very thick Romanian accent. He speaks English, but not especially well.
Oh, the guy driving?
Yeah. He says, "Please stay in town. Don't go out in woods. Woods are very deep, very dense. You get lost. We have very large bears here in Romania."
You see Mr. Gabriel smiling, goes, as big as me?
By the way, as he says that, you see Maxwell seem to pull just reflexively upon hearing we have very big bears here in Romania, pulls the flask and takes a sip.
And he says, you are here to see the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
What? Mr. Gabriel goes, he kind of like taps both of you and goes, "We heard about a box rumor, but we're just tourists."
He says, I take you to the professor. And he leads the way into the inn, and we can go into the hotel.
Okay, so I follow.
All right.
Looking cigarette, heading on in.
Holy crap. You guys are good on the quick stuff.
Thank you.
That's all, TJ.
So go ahead and put your characters on the board. I just put Mr. Gabriel here. Who do you want behind the counter?
Behind the counter, just put, there is a young woman, rather homely, overweight, oversized, and rather homely. She looks at you, smiles, doesn't say anything. And then Professor Maximilian Lenz enters the room. He'll be a brown block. Professor Lenz is of average height, average build. Apparently somewhere in his mid-50s. His hair, he has salt and pepper hair, a salt and pepper beard. He's wearing a brown suit which is somewhat rumpled and has a pair of small spectacle glasses perched on the end of his nose. He says, "Oh, you are the people from the Foundation." His accent is distinctly German, but very crisp and very clear. His English is impeccable. And he says, "I am Professor Maximilian Lind, and I am the proprietor of this hotel." He says, "Of course, I was born and raised in Germany, but I heard about the item, the artifact, which resides in this hotel, and I purchased the hotel so that I could contain and study the object."
Mr. Gabriel kind of raises a hand and goes, "How did you learn about the Foundation?"
He says, "I'm somewhat of an SCP enthusiast." He says, "I have done my research." He says, "I was at one time going to work for the Foundation."
Oh.
He says, "But that was a long time ago and a story for another time." He says, "You're here about the trunk of the Great McDuck." He says, "It's a simple magician's trunk, but it contains a demon." He says, "If you must know, it is a Knucklevy. The demon is a Knucklevy, which is a very powerful and very terrible demon from Scottish folklore." He says,
Hold up. I want to roll knowledge SCP. Is this one of the Orcadian Horsemen?
No.
Oh, okay.
It is actually a real demon from...
Shit, you know shit you have not updated me on.
It's actually a real demon from real Scottish folklore. The people of ancient
That was
Scotland...
the last thing. The last thing was from, I think, what, Japanese folklore?
Yes,
Yeah.
the Oni.
Yeah, I like it. I dig it.
The ancient people of ancient Scotland were terrified of the Knuckleby, and they blamed everything from crop failures to stillborn children on it.
Sorry, my heart is kind of pounding right now because you almost sent me into a panic.
Actually, you know what? For the fun of it, that's us, the players. Let's see if the actual characters know. Which, by the way, go ahead and put your character down, dude. So, go ahead and put Max down.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the block. Sorry, I've been away from this for a bit.
Yep.
I
You also
need to find my block.
Shtick. But which end is the one? Where is it pointing? Nobody knows. Gemini. So Sarah, let's.
And Sarah's the gold one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go roll your d20 and see what you get.
I did a thing.
9 and my knowledge SCP.
I don't know where everyone went.
Check.
We'll be right back.
Check. So it's 13 total?
Yeah, 13 total. So 13 to realize all the stuff that you just said, Tim. That it's of folklore.
And she's heard of the Knuckleby, she's heard of the folklore, and that just how terrified ancient Scottish people were of this thing. It was probably, if not the worst, definitely one of the worst of the demons they believed in. It was considered a demon of calamity, a demon of misfortune.
So, not a very nice guy.
So I just want to verify this is out of character, by the way. This is an SCP of your own creation, or was it from the list?
It's my own creation. Everything I do is always my own creation.
Okay.
Remember, the idea of this series is acquisition, so we're actually going out and finding SCPs
new
that aren't
SCPs.
on the list.
Okay, cool. I'm good. I'm slowly coming down from my panic because that's an SCP that I don't want to fuck with. Oh, sorry. Screw with.
Oh, we don't care.
Nobody cares at this point.
I keep forgetting how far my language is allowed to go.
2020's got a lot worse problems to deal with than a few F-bombs.
That's fair.
So Mr. Gabriel already said something. He's actually going to be looking at her, the one behind the counter, because we're talking very openly right now in front of whoever this is. You can just kind of like see Mr. Gabriel like looking over at
Dr. Len sees you looking, and he says, "Ada speaks no English."
Nods and goes, "True." Like squints a little bit at her, like suspiciously. How she react? I mean, this big hulking dude just suddenly like focusing on her, squinting.
She looks. She sort of blushes and looks down at her feet, and looks like she's trying to hunch down behind the desk and hide her body. Because, like I said, she's large and homely. Possibly a bit self-conscious about her size and her appearance. She doesn't say anything. Then she smiles sheepishly at you and looks away.
He says, I'm not going to be the only one role playing here, guys. Go ahead and say something."
Well, I was waiting for a break with what you guys were doing. I was going to ask, do I see any security cameras around here? Do they have any sort of how's this hotel looking?
It looks very old. There is a large fireplace which is currently not lit.
Pretend this is a fireplace.
Yeah, there are sofas, recliners. There are, other than Ada, yourselves, and Professor Lynch, you don't see any people anywhere.
we're asking to see, has the building been, like, renovated technologically
it doesn't
or overhauled? Like, did they put in a ducting system instead of the old school fireplace in every room?
No, everything looks very old.
Okay, so no signs that it's been updated.
No,
like,
there are no security cameras.
I wish you had told me that, Tim. I put a duct system in.
Oh, I don't care. It's fine. We can say the duct system that's not a major issue. We can say that there's a duct system in there. They don't, but there are no security cameras. There's nothing. You don't see. The most high-tech thing that you see is the computer monitor that's on Ada's desk, and it looks like it came from sometime in 1986.
Yeah, I was gonna say Windows 95. Damn, it's a DOS-based system.
It's a big clunky tube-based monitor-looking thing.
Yeah, it's running DOS.
Okay. I want to ask: Are there any other?
Okay, I did it. I made a fireplace.
Yep. There are no other people in the room other than yourselves, Ada, and Dr. Lenz.
No, I mean, like, asking, like, are there other people currently staying at the hotel?
And he says we currently have 2 guests other than yourselves.
Okay.
He says, and neither of them is aware of the box. However, he says there are other interested parties.
Oh.
So,
he says the head priest at the town's church, believes that the box should be transferred to the church for God's safekeeping. Says Father Nikolai is a transfer from Russia, from the Russian Orthodox Church.
Yeah, Max goes ahead and bites his lip, or his tongue, I should say. So that's the other interesting point. What the hell? So Max makes sure of their room reservations while they're here, in case it takes longer. He'd like to make sure they have 3 rooms available for their use at all times.
And they do. There are plenty of rooms available.
He's just double checking.
Mr. Gabriel raises a hand in this tiny, like, it's a pretty big hotel, but at the same time it's small for someone as big as him. And he kind of just raises his hand. He goes, "Do you have a bed big enough for me?"
And Dr. Len says, "I think we can accommodate you. We can find a way to accommodate you."
He goes, "Thank you. I always have trouble finding beds that actually can fit me."
He says, "How long are you planning to stay?" He says,
We'll probably
He says, "What exactly does your job here entail?"
Looking around, documenting, checking out how the building's designed,
making sure
just how it plays with the folklore, just checking up on things. It's mostly informative.
Mr. Gabriel nods at Max and
mostly
agrees, and he goes, "We also want to make sure it's an actual SCP."
And he says, "Oh, I can assure you it is an actual SCP."
That's what I said. It's mostly informative.
Leading into that, could you show us the box?
And you see, he sort of clears his throat and says, "I'm not sure that's possible at this time."
Then maybe we should go somewhere and discuss why it is not possible at this time.
And he says he sort of looks away from you at that point then and says, I know that you are here to transport it away, but he says perhaps you should do that without going near it.
Mr. Gabriel holds up a finger and he goes, Is this Euclid or Keter?"
What does Euclid or Keter? I've seen them.
Basically, how hard is it to contain?
Euclid means it has the potential to cause immediate damage to its surroundings, or otherwise cause loss of life or damage.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Contained apocalypse.
Well, not necessarily. There are other SCPs that are classified as Euclid and Keter, but they're not dangerous. They're just really hard to contain because
that's fair.
It's literally just how hard, and the way I like it, because it takes it away from the idea of it just being dangerous, and you can have a lot more fun.
It's difficulty in containing.
Just how difficult is it to contain? Can I stick it in a room? Do I have to put like sigils around the room, or do I literally have to scrub it from the face of the internet every single time it pops up?
And
in this case, it's we don't know. That's what we're here to find out.
He says, "I believe that the trunk wants to be opened."
So, you fear that it'll affect minds?
Says, "Yes, those who go near it. I have noticed that certain people, when going near it, seem to experience a compulsion to open the trunk."
He said,
have you kept any kind of record of these people who have gone and seen the trunk? Maybe I can find a pattern of some sort.
He says, "I have, though at the moment it is kept in a locked room, and though I have tried to keep the trunk locked, it somehow manages to unlock itself."
Oh, I wasn't referring to the trunk. Have you kept a log of who's approached it and
I have, though
with it.
all of the times that it has been opened were before I owned the hotel. Since my ownership of this hotel, there have been no instances where the trunk has been opened. I have kept it in a locked room, and I have tried to keep its existence secret.
Okay, so you haven't had people currently approach it while it's been in your possession. No. You've just heard stories of it causing people to open it. Okay.
Though I have witnessed for myself that it has unlocked itself. I have kept the padlock on it, and somehow the padlock always ends up unlocked.
Mr. Gabriel looks at Max and says, Max.
Yes, sir.
That's honest. It's in itself is SCP behavior and worthy of the Foundation. A box that can unlock itself.
Says you have heard the.
We already have one of those, though. We've got a couple of them.
Still,
it's not a new phenomenon. It just is. It's kind of inconvenient. In this case, though, the demon is really the problem.
That's assuming that it has a demon. However, I think our mission should be to see if it's something that we can basically contain and bring home with us, or if we have to call in backup and have other people and other minds come in to assist.
Well, since they're currently dealing with and suddenly you see his eyes flick over at the woman behind the counter again and squints his eyes. Mr. Gabriel is very suspicious of that person.
Oh yeah, so is Max. He's just not so blatantly obvious about it.
He says if you're going to interview people...
I was about to say, can we roll second sight to see if we can determine if she's... Well, it's either second sight or awareness. I'm not sure which.
Second sight is somebody's motives.
Okay, so awareness. I want to see if she's responding to any particular English words.
All right. I would be doing the same. Let's all just make a roll, and Tim, we're making that roll now.
Okay. And this is for Ada, who's at the counter, at the desk.
Yeah.
Right.
We basically want to see if she's got any tells that she's, following and understanding. Holy shit!
I got a natural 20.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
oh.
You would know, Mr.
All right. Ada is currently reading a book and doesn't appear to be paying any attention to anything you're saying. So if she understands that she's not interested in, she seems to be engrossed in her books.
So he's definitely sure she's listening and understands. He's just keeping it to himself.
From your point of view, every other word that she reads in the book, she then looks up and listens to everything you say.
Well,
natural 20.
That seems a bit excessive.
Everyone make another roll now.
All right.
Same roll. This one directed towards Dr. Lenz.
Paranoia.
All right.
Did
awareness.
Marco come in, or did he stay
No,
out?
he didn't come in.
Ooh.
Now make another roll directed towards Dr. Lenz.
I got a 9. in total? Because I actually took awareness as one of my skills.
14.
You were too busy concentrating on Ada reading her book.
Okay.
You got a 14?
Yeah, I did.
And what did Max get?
I got a natural 13. I'm trying to see what I add to it. What was this for?
Awareness, so you're adding your wisdom bonus, unless you have
plus 2, so it's a 15.
Right, both
plus 1, 14.
Mr. Gabriel is too busy concentrating on the book reading Ada, but the two of you both get the distinct feeling that Dr. Lenz is not being entirely truthful with you.
Uh-huh. It's pretty obvious about that.
Okay.
It's like, I'm going to be intentionally suspicious. Nah, it's just, most people are not good at lying. The average person's bad at hiding stuff, especially if they're a seeker of truth.
That's fair. I don't think we're probably going to get anything more out of him currently, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask to see my room. If he's not going to show the SCP currently.
When you ask this, he says something in Romanian to Ada, who then rings a bell, and Marco comes into the room and looks at you and says, I take your luggage. I show you a room.
Alright.
And he takes you to your rooms. And your 3 rooms are right next to each other and at the hallway. So you just... Any rooms. There's nothing special about any particular room in the hotel, so...
There's 2 rooms per floor.
Okay.
So... There's the first floor... second floor. I'll go on the second floor.
Yeah, and there's nothing special about any of the rooms, so...
Okay.
There we go. Okay, nice big...
They're just basic hotel rooms.
So she's the one that took us up?
No, Marco took you up.
Okay, Marco. Okay.
Who is the young Romanian man who speaks broken English.
Brianna, we now have potentially 2 decoy rooms.
Yeah.
As you guys are settling in down here and Mr. Gabriel is being taken upstairs, he's actually going to roll for languages. He was trying to learn a little bit of Romanian, and he's actually good with languages. So can I make a roll to basically speak to her in Romanian?
Okay, yeah, you can.
And, understand Romanian. We haven't played around with languages, so I thought it might be fun to have Mr. Gabriel be naturally good with languages.
And what are the other 2 of you doing?
Currently, I'm unpacking my luggage so that I can have Hephaestus guard my room.
Does anything say anything to Marco?
I mean, I thank him and...
Yeah, thank him for the ride. I thank him for the ride, and I tell him to be safe out here.
And Marco...
And, shifty eye.
Marco looks at you and says, you here to see Box, yes?
What box? There's no such thing as a box. I'm not there, because...
I ask him, what do you mean by a box?
He says, you here from America, yes?
Yes.
He says, why else American come to village?
The beautiful architecture and the lovely climate.
A normal person would say the skiing, but I hate the cold, so...
He says, what is this climate? What is... He doesn't understand the word climate.
I'm gonna try and steer the conversation back on track.
Evade.
Do you have access to the box? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what it is that you're trying to say.
He says you talk to Professor. You talk to Professor about Box. He says Professor tell you about Box.
He didn't tell us where the box is, though.
He says Marco knows where Box is.
Yeah, we would like to know where the box is.
He says.
Marco,
He says box is in attic.
Hang on. I want to roll second sight. Is he affected by the bot? Like, is he being, like, dodgy or cagey or anything?
Because he does seem very interested in the box, and it said it becomes obsessive if someone has contact.
Make your roll.
I just made a hole in the wall so I could easily get out.
Did you...
Hey, can you guys give me, like, 2 minutes? I'll be right back.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
19 total.
19 total. It doesn't seem... First
wait for him to come back.
Wait for him to come back.
Okay.
Because he might roll 2 and he might nat 20 or something.
Yeah. Or he might
Unlikely as it is, but...
Or he might do a nat 2.
Which, by the way, my role for Romanian was, like, saying thank you in Romanian was 7. I rolled 7 in total.
And,
even though I have that language as a skill... You said thank you to her in Romanian?
Yeah. Well, she looked at you and blushed very, very, very deeply. So you apparently said something other than thank you.
And he goes, damn. You see him pull out his little Romanian translator book, flip through it, and go, oh. Closes it and go, oh, never mind.
Those books are usually tiny, so I can just see, like, this Lurch-sized character.
Yeah.
Just with his tiny little book.
Lurch is trying to look through this book, and his fingers are stumbling through the pages. Because his fingers are too fat. They're like big sausage fingers.
This poor man. But you see the fact that he's not dumb. He's trying. He's really trying. And the thing is, his actual intelligence and wisdom is average for a person. But the sheer idea of, like, him just, like, picking up this tiny, tiny little book, just flipping through it, trying to find, because he's trying to engage with people.
He means well.
And it's not that he just means well. He actively tries to. He knows his size is intimidating.
Tell you what, these gaming chairs are not comfortable at all.
I took my chair from. I do a lot of demo work for.
What is a gaming chair?
Here I'll show.
It's supposed to be ergonomic and stuff, but it's really not. Ugh.
Is it one of those chairs that has speakers in it and stuff?
Oh gosh, no. I have headphones for that mess. No, it's basically like an office chair, but it's like designed to be.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's essentially just an office chair, really.
It's colorful.
There you go, Tim. I just showed Tim a picture of a gaming chair.
Okay.
Looks like a very colorful office chair.
Yeah.
Colorful.
Essential. It's just not
essential oils. So this is the part of the live stream where we sit around and we wait for somebody to come back. Because that always seems to happen. At some point.
Probably had to go to the bathroom or something.
I mean, it's not one of our streams unless something like that happens, so.
Yep.
Well, these are things that everybody has to do, so I imagine everybody's live stream probably contends with it.
Everybody poops. Or in this case, he's off doing something else. I'm just going to push him. Push him.
Can you knock him down?
I can't.
I set up my microphone sitting down.
He's back.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that.
I said something very not appropriate to the nice lady in Romanian.
He failed his
language check
very badly. She blushed very deeply when he said whatever he said.
All right, so you were going to roll 2 for him.
Second sight or whatever it is for the
for Marco. You rolled very well.
Yeah, I rolled 19.
I rolled a natural 7.
Okay,
all right, so
only
only
wisdom and that's it.
All right, only you come up with it. What's your character's name again? I've got Max.
Brenna.
I've got Gabriel. What's her name?
Brenna Burns.
Brenna
So
Burns.
Brenna.
Okay. Brenna is the only one that picks up on it. That Marco is smarter than he's letting on that he is, and he is more aware of things going on around him than what he is letting on, and he seems to have a very powerful interest in this box.
Yeah, okay, so conspirator number 1 or 2 located. Wonderful. We're just gonna black bag all of them. What? Who's gonna stop us? The police?
You see, you all kind of notice that this entire time Mr. Gabriel has actually been carrying around what appears to be a very large guitar case.
The big sausage fingers, he plays a mean guitar.
Yeah, well, not all of us can hide it in our jacket now, can we?
No.
He mentioned he had a rifle, and I looked over at Kat off the mic, and I was just like, that man has a rifle? Can you imagine what caliber it is? He's gonna have a cannon!
The rifle is definitely custom made, and I will describe it when it gets pulled out of its guitar case.
Is it made by the guy who makes your suits? Because if so, I'd trust that craftsmanship.
Actually, his gun was custom made by a guy named Owen Zastava Pitt.
So, anyways,
moving on.
Ow! I stretched and I pulled something.
So what do you do? Marco is off.
Stop pulling things, Sarah. We're trying to play SCP game and die.
Marco has offered to take you and to tell you where the trunk is at. And there is something very shady about Marco.
So Max is gonna say, "Hey Marco, buddy, can you pull over for a second? I think I'm gonna be sick." And burps.
Now Max didn't get he didn't get the vibe. Only, what's her name again? I keep
Brenna.
wanting to call her Bertha for some reason.
No, yeah. Max is not aware
Brenna.
that Marco is playing coy. He's actually not been paying very much attention to Marco at all.
Oh wait, hold on. Maybe just to say we are not in a car right now. We are. This is Marco. This is Marco. That's Marco.
This is later on while we're in there. All right, never mind then.
Okay, so I'm just gonna assume that my two compatriots are like chit-chatting about whatever it is that they're chit-chatting about.
And they're oblivious to what you have just
noticed.
Yeah, we were having really subtle talk about firearms in front of civvies without them realizing we're talking about firearms.
Yeah, I play a really mean guitar. I got my guitar custom made by Owen Sestava Pitt after I talked to him at the range.
Okay, so Brenna's gonna kind of try and turn on the charm a little bit, and she's gonna ask Marco. So, I mean, you probably have more access to the trunk than even the professor does. Then
he says.
Here we go. This is why she's here.
He says.
This is one of like 3 roles she plays.
He says, "No, trunk is locked. Marco cannot get to."
Oh, you can't. Oh, could you at least show me where it's at?
He says, "Oh." He seems very, very willing, even anxious. He says, "Of course, Marco, take you now."
Okay. I gesture and I was like, "Lead on," and I kind of like bat my eyes a little bit.
And he takes you up to the attic.
All right.
The second Miss Burns moves, we are on our 6.
I was about to say, as I passed, I tap,
No. He's watching you. He's just not listening because he's having a subtle conversation about firearms with a fellow operator.
I know, but like I'm still gonna tap you so that you know, like, I've got there's something like going on, like strange going on. Not just, him showing me where it's at. Just
yeah.
Okay.
You see Maxwell reach his hand into his right pocket, and it looks like it's almost resting on his hip inside there. You know what that means. His coat does not. None of his coats possess a right pocket liner. Remember?
Yeah, that's.
He grabs his shotgun through that. Remington 870 sawed off.
Right, he takes you up to the attic, And the attic is pretty much empty of everything except for a few bits of furniture and the ductwork and such around. But you see there is a room, small room, which is obviously not part of the original construction, built of bricks with a door, with a locked door. The room is very small, much smaller than the attic, and looks as though it has been built around something, and there is a locked door in the room. That's the brick room, the brick wall room you're looking at.
Okay, I'm gonna be kind of really keenly watching Marco. Do I, like, notice anything?
Marco goes up to the door and shakes on the knob and says, "See? Locked." He says, he knocks on the door, says, "Trunk in there."
It's a shame we don't know where the key is.
And he says, "Marco think Professor has key."
You do?
He nods and says, "But Professor no let Marco see."
I wonder why he's so interested in keeping it away from you.
And he shrugs and says, "Marco just want to look. Marco showed Russian man, but Russian man no have key."
At Russian man, Max's ears, which Max, from the point he put his hand in his coat, is now on combat alert, ready for, like, some shenanigans to go down, or betrayal or something, because paranoid. But at this point, he's listening very intently to everything Marco's saying.
And you remember that the professor mentioned a Father Nikolai who was a transfer from the Russian Orthodox Church and was the head priest at the ancient church here in the village.
Yeah, but Marco talked to the priest, is what I just learned, which is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not only talked to the priest, but apparently showed him this room and this door and told him about the trunk inside.
Okay, so potential liability. The priest also wants the chest.
And the priest suggested transferring the chest to the church.
Fighting. It's fine.
No one expected the Russian Inquisition, though, so...
Yeah, see, we're trying to be chill. We generally like to be professional about it, but if stuff really, really goes bad, we're an unsanctioned paramilitary force on foreign soil. That's the real talk of it. We don't get arrested. None of that. Nuh-uh. We're just going to do the stuff and get out.
Oh, you see Mr. Gabriel hold up a hand, and he goes, and he's saying to Marco, he goes, "So you showed the Russian this door?"
He nods and says he no find key either. He know how to get in either.
You see Mr. Gabriel suddenly nod. He goes, "Thank you, Marco. Go downstairs, and whatever you hear, you do not know."
He longs.
And you see him pass him like $100 bill.
And
oh my God.
You see Marco looks at it and says, "What this for?"
He goes, "You never saw
he can't
anything."
Exchange that.
He says, "Oh."
That's not helpful to him.
He says, "Marco no see anything."
Marco doesn't see anything. Actually, hold on. For reference, I'm just going to quickly go.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Let's see at this
hang
point.
on, like,
Let's
in
see what Marco.
Because the Foundation knows that we're going here. Would they have exchanged our currency and given us local currency?
Probably.
Okay.
Actually, if I remember correctly, because I last time I traveled, at least in the other parts of Europe, because I traveled from Britain all the way down to Rome and back. You could use American dollars the entire way, and was actually like American dollars was like.
The only issue is it's a backwoods town in the Ukraine, right?
True.
It's like kind of isolated, kind of away from modern.
Surrounded by.
I give him $100 worth of dollars in Romanian rubles or whatever.
It's. Marco looks at you, then looks at the money, then looks up at you and says, "You mean you're not going to break down door, big man?"
He winks and he goes, "Not going to break it down, and I'm not going to open it because you never saw anything." And he winks again.
He says, "Marco didn't see you break down door." He says, "Marco just saw a door broke down, so then Marco could go inside."
It looks like it's called Romanian Lou. So. There, the answer is done.
Marco no see you break down door, just saw a door down, and then Marco went inside room.
He says, go downstairs.
Marco looks very disappointed.
He goes, you can go in the room if the door is down.
And then he perks up at
it's
that.
It's gonna be fine, Marco. No one's destroying anything. We're gonna get this whole thing solved so that we can all see the box, okay?
Marco nods, once again looking a bit hopeful.
We're all here to see it, right?
He seems very anxious to see this box.
I know you're a buddy.
He's looking. You see Mr. Gabriel look at all of you, and he's kind of like
motioning. Marco goes downstairs, leaving you alone.
I was about to put a hand on his shoulder and be like, "Come on, buddy, come have a drink with me."
You see Mr. Gabriel walk over to the door. This big hulking man of pure muscle and meat. You see him reach into his pockets. You see him reach into his coat pocket, and you see him pull out the tiniest lockpick set.
I actually saw that one coming. Good shot.
Lurch has this little tiny lockpick set.
You see him lean down, open up the lockpick set, and I'm going to go make my roll for thief skills.
Okay, before he does that, I want to tap him on the shoulder.
Yep.
And, Mr. Gabriel, let me be the one to look first, because if I fall under any sort of persuasion from the bot, it'll be much easier for you and Max to restrain me than for he and I to restrain you.
You see him nod, he goes, good thinking, good thinking. His grin is like 12 parsecs wide. But even though he has a very handsome face, it does come off as a little menacing. Because he's just so big.
I really pat him on the arm and smile. I'm trying my best to not let the creep factor get to me, because it's by far not the creepiest thing I've seen or dealt with.
It's not that he's creepy, it's more of somebody who just is naturally intimidating because of his size.
Right.
He does not have a good charisma, and he is not good, and does not have good strength. But he just comes off at... Have you watched Beastars on Netflix?
Nope.
No.
I would recommend it. I'm trying to model him after, like, the wolf character. He just has natural, like... He's trying to not come across as intimidating, but he just naturally is, because he's so big.
I think I've seen, like, an AMV or something for it. I was just wandering the internet at some point. So I think I know, like, the weird animation facial structure thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But like,
it's not that it's weird. It's just like, well, the thing I was trying to get across was it's not that he's creepy. It's just the fact of he's intimidating because he's really freaking big. So I'm going to roll D20. I rolled horribly. That's 11 with lockpick. And I'm using my dexterity, so...
Alright, so you do an 11. You fail miserably at getting the lock open. It seems it's quite a bit more complex of a lock than you thought at first.
He sighs and he goes, rather difficult.
Seems that a bit of money was put into this particular lock.
Can I roll one more time?
You can.
All right, I'll roll one more time, but I'm not going to sit here and roll every day. So if I fail this roll, my lockpick set gets busted.
I got you.
What was that?
If you don't get it on this try, Max is just giving you a second, see what you can do. If you don't get it on this try, he'll see if he can help in some way.
20, not natural.
You don't break your lockpick set, but the lock still doesn't open.
He's just sighs. You see this very big man just go. You see him take out the tools and he goes, I cannot find the tumblers.
Max is gonna go up, put near to the door, and give it a series of light taps around the edges and right across the center pieces of the door where reinforcement would normally be. He's checking to see if the door has been reinforced by banded steel, which is what some people will do with, like, panic rooms in their home and whatnot, or, for example...
He's trying to see if the door is reinforced.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um,
Make your check.
Let's go make your check.
Hang on. Diamond, move your face. You're in my way. She does that. She's really good at being right in the way.
I just punched a hole in the wall because it's faster.
Proud of you.
Who's right in the way?
I rolled a natural 10, and what skill am I rolling?
My guess would be investigation.
Yeah. That sounds like a good one.
I think you have investigation.
Sleuth. It's my sleuthy
Yeah.
bits. I rolled a 16 total.
16 in total.
The door is reinforced.
Okay, so can't take it down with a kick.
Quite a bit of money was put into this door as well as this lock.
Yeah, a lot of money went into this door. Alright, he advises you not even to try to brute force it.
You see Mr. Gabriel go, probably is good. I'd make too much noise tearing it off. Which, honestly, I would say if he failed the roll, he would take it off, but the whole building would know.
Not to mention, we'd lose the deposit on our rooms for sure.
he goes, oh, the foundation always covers it.
Max's face didn't change, but that's his idea of a joke. He's a...
Brenna chuckles. Brenna spent just enough time with you to know that that's your sense of humor.
He's grumpy.
He goes, well, if the door is reinforced...
character trait that comes from a lifetime of dealing with a-holes.
If the door is reinforced and the door is locked...
What is
the easiest route?
What is the will defense of each of your characters?
Oh, I think that's one of my higher things.
10.
What?
10.
11.
Mine is also 10.
Tim has old school dice because he wants to keep his dice secret.
Oh yeah, we can hear that.
Yeah.
That's some proper DMing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
HM in this case.
Yeah,
HM.
HM. And I keep wanting to call her Bertha. What is it?
Bertha.
Brenda.
Brenna.
Okay.
Brenda.
Brenna
There is no Brenda.
really suddenly wants in that room. You can understand why Marco wants in. You really need to see this box. It is of utmost importance. The other two don't seem to be affected, but you really want to see this box. You want to see this trunk. You need to know if it really is an SCP. You just really need to know.
Okay, you see Brenna kind of bite her lip, but she also knows there's no way through the door.
She's suppressing a squee.
You see Mr. Gabriel look over at Brenna and say, "You're a tech."
Max is literally fucking staring at her now.
You're a techie. Don't you have a little camera or something we could slip through the bottom of the door or through the keyhole?
I don't think she carries an optic cable with her now.
Yeah, I don't think I have an optic cable. Although, if I take apart part of Hephaestus, I might be able to jerry-rig something.
That's grotesque.
Oh, I mean, I carry spare parts, so...
Maybe Festus has an optic cable. He is a robo-dog.
It's an idea. And it lets us see in there, so we'll at least know what we're dealing with. So, Brenna's gonna kind of hop over and just take off downstairs to her room. Actually, no, she can call Hephaestus at this point, because she took him out of his hibernation, because he was in her luggage. So
how big is Festus?
He's he'd be about the size of a beagle.
Okay, because
so small.
I'm picturing the Doctor Who robo-dog.
Not quite. No, he looks like you remember they had those little robot dogs that they came out with
yeah, the one they would bark and.
Yeah, He's colored like those, like he looks like those, but you can definitely tell that he's been taken apart and augmented and tinkered with, you know. So he's got, you know, 2020 level robotics, but he kind of looked more like a 2120 like level robot. So like the sleek, you know, kind of sci-fi look. But I mean, he looks like a cyber dog, but he's just a regular, you know.
You put some robot. Neon lights on him. Congratulations. He's got underglow.
I mean, as I level up, I'm sure, you know, he'll level up too. It's just right now, currently, he's something that you would probably spend like a couple grand on if you know, you were a serious collector.
How are you doing experience in this?
I am doing experience by skill rolls, and we haven't been had.
Yeah, I never asked you how you're doing. Whoops. You've had, so I'll just give you experience at the end of the. So you've had.
We had a few people in chat say hi, but then they rolled out by the looks of it. I'm on my laptop, so I'm only able to see chat there, and Jane's obviously not moderating tonight for some reason. I will fuss at her later.
All right, so the little Robo Pooch.
The lime green block
is the little Robo Pooch.
Yep.
He is here.
How late are we going? I think was Bjørr's question.
Yes.
We can stop. What time do you want to stop? Because we can turn this into a two-parter if we need to.
Okay, yeah, I was hoping for like around 11 towards the later stuff, because I have some home things going on that demand my attention tonight. I have a friend going through a very rough period in her life.
All right, then we understand. We understand. So,
okay, so
we'll go to
cut out some of the unnecessary bits then and scoot this along.
However we want to do it, if we want to two-part it or if we want
we can two-part it. It's fine. We can two-part it. The set will be here. It's not like we have to redraw everything. And I can easily label this as part 1 and then part 2, and people will understand to go to part 1 first.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. Okay, so Brenna's gonna roll to take apart the optic nerve for Hephaestus, and she's not gonna take it off of him, but she's going to see if she can get the camera, maybe not through the keyhole, but maybe under the door. If there's enough wiggle room.
Yeah, and you can get it under the door. There is enough wiggle room.
Okay. So I would he's basically gonna record. What would I roll this as? Is like just a dexterity to see if I can kinda get it to like twist up to look at the box? Or would it be like awareness, repair?
Do a straight intelligence check.
Okay.
If
you get a natural 20, we'll... Oh, so close. 19.
So 18, because I have a -1 to my intelligence.
No, still good. And
yeah.
You get it. You get the cable through, and you're looking at what it's seeing. You see the room inside is completely dark, but when your cable goes through, for some reason, it lights up, and you see that there is a single bare bulb that is on the ceiling of the room, which has just lit itself. And you see the trunk. It looks like very much like an old magician's trunk. It's got stars and planets and suns drawn on it. Most of the drawing is faded. Overall, the trunk is a vague purple coloration. And you see the lid is shut, and there is a very expensive, new and expensive, heavy-duty combination lock that has been placed on the trunk. And as you look at it, you see the lock pops open and drops off of the trunk.
You hear Maxwell loudly proclaim, "Hell no!" and immediately moves forward and sits on the damn trunk.
Well, no, it's through a door.
Open.
Yeah, she's looking. She's looking under the door.
Mr. Gabriel kind of like is looking over your shoulder as you're doing this, and he goes, "Did that thing?
I assume the three of us are huddled over her tiny little screen, like really ignoring her personal space.
She
because I'm basically like transferring the video live feed from my dog's chip to like my phone. I have an app on my phone or something.
You hear Mr. Gabriel say, "I hope you recorded that."
Well, yeah, obviously it's stored. I get 24 hours stored video on Heffy's memory chips, so I'll just make sure that I upload that tonight, and that'll be part of our evidence.
So instead of the loud exclamation of "hell no," you hear Maxwell vaguely whisper, "Oh hell no."
Then at that point, the little robo dog starts barking. Barking and bouncing up and down. And then the barking and bouncing stops. The room goes dark again.
You hear Mr. Gabriel sighs, and he goes, "That's good enough for me for SCP classification. It popped a lock and turned on the light."
Yeah, now we just need to do what we can to figure out how to resist its compulsive effect. That way the recovery teams don't just open it.
Right, Brenna, make an awareness.
See what's in this.
Brenna makes an awareness check.
Brenna, make your awareness check.
Get off the ground.
Ooh.
10.
You don't know why your dog suddenly started barking, yipping and barking and jumping up and down, and then stopped.
Detected bad juju, man.
Didn't seem right.
Well, once I run, once I upload the stuff, I can go back and see what sensors were tripped. So I might not know it now, but I'll know.
Okay.
Later.
And so that's what you. That's
Are we still alone in that room?
Yes,
that we're
you're still alone in the room.
We probably ought to skedaddle, cause
yeah, that's enough snooping for us three very overt people standing in this room.
True.
The professor's gonna wonder where we got off to.
Well, you did come here to investigate the box, so.
And I'm sure he's watching us every step of the way. So let's be careful.
He's probably using us as guinea pigs, says Mr. Gabriel.
He's got motives for wanting the Foundation here, and he clearly doesn't want us to take the box, so he's shown that he knows how we work. And we're not going to make the mistake of giving him a chance to be trusted. No.
So,
that's the rules.
I get it's almost 10:30 now, and I can kind of tell a good cliffhanger would be, something's wrong with the box.
Oh, yeah, okay, so we've confirmed definitely an SCP of some sort. That's where we're at. Containment procedures are now what we're working on.
Yep, working on the whole containment procedure, make sure they don't kill us.
Yeah, don't die we can't do the rest of our job if we die. It gets right in the way.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get the box back if we're dead.
Can't physically hand it to Mr. White if I am a corpse.
True.
Or a force of evil, who knows?
So, I think this would be a good stopping point, considering you have stuff to do.
A friend of mine recently learned a close relative has taken ill, and it's at a very bad period in our life right now, so
I can
things
understand.
are just crazy. It was very recent we found out.
I understand, and you don't have to talk about it online if you don't want to. So
just wanted to let you know.
I'm hiding
not
under the carpet.
To miss stuff like this. I'm actually quite enjoying this for the most part.
Well, sometimes it's good to just take a step away. So.
Yeah, you got responsibility stuff, and I'm looking forward to the next session. I'm really excited.
All right, we'll turn this into a part 2, and Tim, remember your notes.
Yeah.
Because.
By the way, Tim, it was great having you here this time.
Because there are more people that you need to talk to and such, and.
Yep.
I came up with a whole cast of characters for this.
So
good, I'm taking notes like a proper detective.
So we're going to put this as part 1, and
when is part 2? Next week?
I don't think it'll be next week because that's a week Kevin can come. Well, I say come. Week after.
Okay.
In 2 weeks. In 2 weeks we'll do the box part 2.
And what is next?
It's only fair because this was a shorter stream, so hopefully, having it sooner will make up for that.
Yeah, we'll have it in 2 weeks. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Unless you're watching this way in the future and you just click the next button and it's right there. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. We're going to put a stop to it now. Tim, do you have a cutscene for us before we walk away?
Let's see.
Because we literally left on a cliffhanger of the bulb went and all our characters went running down going, oh, hell nah! Well, my character kind of walked down very gingerly going, don't bust the stairs. Don't bust the stairs with my weight.
Yeah,
no one has noticed that Miss Byrne's normal dangerous curiosity has turned into dangerous obsession with this specific box. Although, I mean, if anyone was going to get it, it's her. Let's be real. Max knows she gets overly excited, but when she gets too excited, there's a problem.
He's not wrong.
He doesn't know she's under the influence of the box already. He definitely knows that it has the capacity to addict you to it, and that's not okay, because he knows what that's like.
All right, yeah, there is a cutscene. Everyone has left the attic. We see the attic, and then our camera eye moves through the brick wall, and in the darkness we see the box. We see the overhead bare bulb pops back on, illuminating the box, which is sitting there, and then for a moment the lid raises.
Wait, hold on. I can kind of do this. Hold on. We're in Minecraft. Hi, Spider. What are you doing in the window? Let me just quickly go all the way back up to it. So I can kind of do this. So we're going to do this. And you said there's a light bulb?
A light bulb, which pops. It's a bare bulb.
Sitting here listening to spider noises and campfires and stuff for like hours. Interesting. Sorry, Cat's heard all the Minecraft sound effects, but like none of the voice chat from y'all this whole time, because the game sound effects are playing through my laptop speakers. So she's just been sitting here listening to spider noises and campfires.
So the camera pans in through the brick wall. Well, we see them run downstairs, but then we see the camera rise back up to the brick wall. And we see it go through the wall. Yep. The light pops back on.
Light pops back on.
And then the chest
The lid opens. Of the trunk raises up perhaps an inch.
Just like that. Wait,
What, can you do that too?
I can lift it. I just have to go into
Sarah,
creative.
What are you doing? You're like running all over the place.
Lifts like that.
It raises up just perhaps an inch. And
no,
we see
she's Sarah in a Pikachu suit, I believe.
We see 4 appendages. What look like 4 appendages creep out from under the box, feeling around.
2006.
They appear to be fingers, but fingers with no skin of any sort on them. You can see the flesh, the bone, the muscle of the 4 fingers as they quest around the edge of the box, but there's no skin, no nails. Then the fingers slide back in, and the lid to the box drops shut again.
Too spooky.
Too spooky for me.
Too spooky. Run away. So, I think we'll leave it off there with that cutscene, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the next episode. Although, unless this is way in the future and you're just catching it. So, thank you to the people who just dropped in to say hi. We thank you very much for also saying hi in the chat. I'm going to talk to Jane about not being on top of the chat.